everybody, and welcome to the Wealthy LaLa Show with myself, Laurie Laursen. Today is episode 247. How are you today? Looks like we might have some sunshine. It's kind of sort of like, those wispy kind of clouds with the blue behind it. And yeah, maybe we'll get a bit of sun today. I actually don't know what the weather's going to be. I'm always surprised, pleasantly surprised. Yeah, I have to admit, I probably purposely don't pay attention to it because so many people overly pay attention to it. And yes, I'm aware there actually is a little bit of a resistance thing in that, but I think, excuse me, it's a little bit more of a just, I don't want to make that significant on how I enjoy or don't enjoy my life. So. But anyways, I kind of want to talk or refer a little bit to yesterday's show for, I read another post by Elizabeth Gilbert that I want to share with you. And also, I just want to talk about like the guilt that I felt with not wanting to watch the grandsons. And because I realized that, if I was talking to another grandma, I'd be like, don't feel bad. You got to look after you. When you look after you and take care of you, that's actually the kindness to the world. And yet I could not find that in my world for me. So I did what I do. And when I discover and choose to take the time to clear something like that. So I actually did that. So I actually, like I love to do, is I put one of the EMDR YouTube videos on. And for me, I find that I just did such a good job of locking things in my body that I like to double wham it. So you could do just the EMDR, you could do just EFT, the emotional freedom technique tapping. I like to hit it with both. So that's what I do is I sit there and I open up the screen on the EMDR video, put it on, and I start tapping. And I started tapping on the guilt that I felt, how horrible I felt, how bad I felt. And one of my my biggest inspiration with it, after having read a bunch of those, especially the mother wound stuff with Bethany Watson, was I want to create something different for us as women, and for us as mothers, for us as caregivers, for us as nurturers, for us as grandparents, that we come from a place of understanding our value so incredibly importantly. I know that's not proper grammar, but whatever. That we would choose for us so that we can choose to come from a full cup, so that then when we gift, when we share, when we nurture, it is coming from such a congruent, authentic, beautiful, wealthy, inspired place. Imagine us gifting from that space. Like, wow, just tapping into the energy of that. Oh, damn. That is delicious. It's funny. I was just looking at my energetic priorities that I did earlier this year, and certainly, they've changed a little bit, but I sort of had an over-encompassing title of majestically delicious. There was something about that for me this year that I'm creating. I desire to create. I'm creating a majestically delicious 2019. So yeah, anyways, so I just wanted to add that I'm getting better and better at catching. I've talked a lot about self-awareness on my shows, and I'm getting better and better at catching myself when something is off, and I go take care of it, because I'm aware that energy that comes up, whatever it is, sadness, frustration, annoyance, disappointment, discouragement, anything like that, guilt, that's simmering in and within and around me in my energetic body. And it's a part of what's creating in my life and my future. And like I desire to choose and do something different. So anyway, so that's what I did. Like I caught that. And there was even a few things that also came up for me, with that and around a couple of other things that I'm cleaning up. I'm cleaning it up. And, for me, I look at it as though it was like I was a hoarder of emotions. And at first, when you start working on it, it doesn't seem like it's making much difference. You look, if you ever watched any of those shows, Hoarders, I mean, I can't do it. Like, it's just beyond me, and wow, I did it emotionally, hoarded emotions. And so, in the beginning, when it starts, what's so important is really tapping into where you're at when you start tapping EMDR, whatever you choose, and then test in with where you're at after. It's so valuable to notice for yourself, to know and to notice for yourself that something has changed so that it keeps you going. Because sometimes when it like for myself, it felt so overwhelming that change just did not seem possible. It seemed like too much. And because I was so easily triggered into discouragement, my default, I could freaking go there super fast. That if I didn't have something to hold on to say, look, Laurie, this just changed, I could so easily go into it's not ever going to change. So anyways, that is that. And, so if you guys ever would desire to have a session, it is something I am really great at, is helping people figure out what their triggers are and assisting them, through it, and gifting you, showing you different tools that you can then take it and use it for yourself. So, yeah. Okay. So there's this other post. So yesterday, Elizabeth Gilbert put another post. So I loved the one she had done about women. So I talked about it on yesterday's show. So this one here, she says, today I was going through an old journal and stumbled across this page. It's from January 17th, 2016, 13 days after Raya died. So Raya was her love at the time. I have no recollection of writing this. My handwriting is terrible, but it says, City of Girls is to be your medicine, frothy, easy, frivolous, and a gift. We will make this one as easy as possible, but only if you agree to do the same. And then, she writes, along the inside of the margin on the same page, she'd written, I agree. So now she says, understand, at this point, I'd not started writing the novel yet. Not one word of it had been written. I'd been doing research on the book for many years before Raya got sick, but the day she was diagnosed was the last time I'd given any thought to City of Girls. So just as a side note, City of Girls is a book that Elizabeth Gilbert just released. So it's a novel that she wrote. So she put in brackets, who cares about a frothy story of showgirls and playboys when the love of your life is dying? For 18 months, all I had done was taking care of Raya and try to be with her as much as possible. But here I was, only 13 days after she died, scrolling down this message to myself from who? Like, who is talking to me on this page? Who is telling me where my medicine will be found? Who are the we who are promising to make it as easy as possible for me to write this book, if I agree? And why don't I remember this moment? And she puts in brackets, I don't know. I know I was in a haze of exhaustion and grief, but still, I have no recollection. But look how firmly, and she actually puts a picture of it in the post on Facebook, so you can go find it if you want. But look how firmly I'd scrawled, I agree. That's what matters. Not 2 weeks after I'd lost the most important person in my life, I was agreeing to get back to my work. I was agreeing not only to write a frivolous novel, but to write it easily. It makes no sense, but I held to that agreement. When people have asked me lately, how could you write that book so soon after Raya died? I've said, I don't know. Something told me to do it. But I didn't remember the instruction coming in. I must have trusted it though, because when it comes to creativity, I always trust. I don't trust anything in this world as strong as I trust my creative impulses and commands. I follow orders from sources I cannot see and do not understand. I have no idea where it comes from, but I always do as I'm told, and it always heals me. Thank God. Onward, LG. Like, this was so good for me to read. Oh, because I choose something different with regards to my health, wellness, healing, body stuff. And I have allowed so much doubt in my world. Like so much doubt of worrying about what other people think, so much doubt that I could do it, so much doubt that I knew what the frick I was even, like where was this awareness coming from? I've got no proof. I mean, man, I have had my own massive dose of skepticism on this unknown voice within me that has said, keep doing this, Laurie, keep doing this. When pretty much everyone around me is, it's not that, like, say people weren't necessarily supporting me, but they weren't supporting me. So they weren't saying anything to my face like, you're crazy, you shouldn't be doing this, what are you doing, you're nuts, that kind of thing. But their lack of saying anything, so they were supporting me in the way that they weren't degrading or putting down what I was choosing. Although I know some of them were questioning it, because I'd hear about it from others. But they were doing the best in supporting me in the way that they could, in the fact that they hoped that by saying nothing, maybe it would just go away. It was funny because it reminds me of Dr. Joe Dispenza when he was asked in a recent interview that I listened to, did people support him? And he goes, well, yeah, they were supportive. He says, but it was like, okay, good. Yeah, okay, great. Good that you're doing that. And then he says, I know as they were walking away, they were thinking, thank God it's not me. So that would probably really summarize a lot of what it's been like for me. And, I really did get that. Oh man, I went out yesterday and I ended up having some really cool conversations with people. And as I was chatting with one woman, I heard myself say to her, she was just a person that I could really just say what I needed to say without having it judged. Like it was just a place to be able to sort of unload and vent. And she's a person I used to work with. And I was, saying in some ways, when I would sort of touch on that little bit of judgment or self-judgment of wishing I was, say, working, because here I'm at work where I used to work, I'm seeing the people that I worked with. And it's kind of like, hey, I'd like to be able to, do something like this, right? So that energy comes up in my world and it's getting better and better that I don't judge myself for it. And then all of a sudden I heard myself say to her, but what if what the universe has said, hey, Laurie, don't worry about it. You're doing exactly what's being asked of you. And look how well you're being looked after. And I was like, holy crap. Holy crap. That is so true. So I was so incredibly grateful for that awareness, that it came through me, that I heard myself say it, and that I perceived the energy in which it was delivered. So even though it was me saying it, like me physically saying it, I really get it was the universe saying it through me. Because it was almost like it came through me. And I was like, whoa, Where'd that come from? Well, that was really light, and I could perceive how it felt in my body. So so grateful for it, and I'm so grateful that I was present enough with myself to be aware of it, and it was kinda nice to have it witnessed, because then I was able to kinda chat about it because it kinda blew my mind a little bit, that just keep trusting, keep doing my podcast, keep taking care of me, keep working on this stuff, keep doing my meditations, and allowing myself to have fun with this and what I'm choosing. And so I did have someone comment to me yesterday. They're like, "Oh, look, it must be nice to be living the life of retired." And I laughed and said back to the person, I said, "Oh yeah, well you can live vicariously through me." And it's so interesting that that's what people see. So if they, it's so funny as I say this right now, if they only knew how hard I was actually working, it's just my job doesn't get paid an hourly wage per se from an employer of sorts that is shown in this reality. Because really, I am taken care of by the universe. I'm taken care of by my hubby. Um, yeah, yeah. So, anyways, on that note, I'm going to sign off for today. Thanks again so much for listening. And yeah, big hugs. And if you guys feel like sharing it, I'd love for you to share my podcast. Maybe there's some other crazies that want to listen to it too. Okay, take care.